Again, ADELARROZ.com. I've got my newsletter down in the description below, so you can go and sign up, get a free novel, a free novella, and a free graphic novel, all for signing up. And then you never miss my videos because they are always sent to you every week. I do a little weekly update. It's kind of nice. And you can always reply to that too. If you're already on there, if you just hit reply on those, if you have any thoughts or anything, you see any videos you want me to make, I try to cater to you guys because you guys are the people who are my bread and butter. So I want to make sure my content matches what you want. And I also want to just interact with you guys because I like you. So with that, we are getting the stream going right now. I'm trying to wait for some folk to maybe get into the stream before we get into the meat of this. This was requested this morning by a few people because they like to hear my marketing takes on things. And there's going to be a little bit of difference between what I think is good marketing in this instance versus what Nicole is saying is good marketing in a lot of this instance. Hello, everybody on Periscope. I see you guys there. You got a bunch of people on Periscope right now. Welcome. I appreciate it. I try to get people on YouTube for the most part because, again, it's just the subscription works a little better than Periscope for things. And that is always the best thing. Hello on Facebook Live to anybody watching there also. Got everybody on this thing. I don't know how long I'm going to keep going with Periscope and Facebook Live. It seems like YouTube just has a better system for everything. So that's what we got right now. Make sure to share this around. So if you see this stream coming up, if you share it with folk, it'll of course be helpful for getting people in here and listening to the content, which I think is going to be useful for everybody. So especially folk who want to be authors here. All right. Where are we? Do we got some folk on YouTube? Leave a comment if you're here. I want to hear from you. And leave a comment on Periscope. I can't tell. I hate the way that StreamYard does things with multiple streamings at this point because I can't tell who's here and who's not. Whereas I used to be able to do that pretty easily. Okay. Still stalling for time for everybody to show up because I know these notifications don't show up all that often. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shill a little bit before getting into this. So I've got on Indiegogo right now my JDA store, and I've got all of my comics on here. I've got all of my books on here, and I've got all of my everything on here. So you can get a single issue. So if you go into here, it's got a drop down that has every single issue to make it real easy for you. So every single issue costs the same amount, and this is just digital. So if you haven't read Clockwork Dancer, you just want to check it out on PDF or whatever, just click Clockwork Dancer, and then you go. If you want multiple, when you continue to payment, there's going to be an option for, let's see if I can do this without doxing myself too much. There's an option for add-ons, so you can get more books if you want to do that there. It makes it very easy for everybody. And of course, we've got physical single comics at $10. So this gives you the actual issue in hand. I sign them for you and mail them to you. Digital graphic novels. So this is like Flying Sparks, right? So if you have, it's a full graphic novel. I've got all 4 volumes of Flying Sparks and Dynamite Thor at this tier. Physical graphic novel, same thing. Night Training. This is my steampunk novels. I can't give away my books digitally because I've got them in Kindle Unlimited, which means I've got them exclusive to Amazon. But I can sell physical books for folk. So if you haven't read any of my steampunk novels, or if you say you need to catch up or whatever, this is where we're at. Next is Sci-Fi Novels. I've got my thumbnails confused with what's actually there. But all of my sci-fi novels are here, including Make Science Fiction Fun Again, which is out of print. You cannot get that book anywhere but here. And same with Star Realms Rescue Run. These are limited books that I only have like 30 copies each left of, and they are not in print. Complete Arishan Wars. This is my sci-fi series. There's 3 books: Colony Launch, The Stars Entwined, and The Stars Asunder. Complete Nano Templar series. This is Justified, Sanctified, Glorified. So basically, if you like Star Trek or Babylon 5, this is really the series for you. If you like Star Wars, this is really the series for you. My steampunk series, now this is 5 books, so I really deeply discount this. So you get 5 books here, all 5 books in the steampunk series. Great deal. Complete Flying Sparks, also got it very deeply discounted, so you get all 4 books and the 3 single issues here. Complete GA comic collection, so if you want all of my books, this is a great spot also. And then everything for me, this is the best deal. You get $90 off, and you get every single book I've come out with. So that's everything right now. And still kind of waiting for people to show up. I think I just I opened the stream maybe a little earlier than I would have normally for folk. So I don't know. Maybe I'll try to put the link in a couple places. Come join us. All right. I'm sure there's some folk out here who want to go over our marketing advice. And I've got a lot of background in this stuff, so I can really help a lot of people here if you all decide to come in. So I will post it in just a few more places, and then maybe that'll do things. Leave a comment down in the chat, by the way, because when you get that going, it helps the algorithm with people showing up and checking things out. I gotta do the Scott Adams like bum 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 bum, right? Before we get our simultaneous sipping going on, right? Then I got one more spot, and then I'm just gonna dive into this. So if people don't want to show up, that's gonna be on them at this point. Cool. All right. Again, let me know you're here. I'd love to hear from you, and that helps the algorithm and all that. And we'll start diving into this. All right. Who is Nick Cole? A lot of people might not. Maybe people don't know who Nick Cole is, and that's why part of it is here. Nick Cole is a author who is very successful with selling his books. He's actually came from traditional publishing originally and ventured out into indie publishing. He got big with his Soda Pop Soldier series, which is a very good book series. I've read it and can vouch for it. And the publisher actually had a problem with one of his books because he had an anti-abortion message in it. And so he had the fight with the publisher, pulled out of the publisher at that point, and then produced the book through Castalia House afterwards, and it became a smash hit. So Nick Cole really came onto the map, like a lot of us in here, through some controversy that happened with his publisher, and really became a person to rally behind for the sort of conservative book movement at that point. He got nominated for that book, which was Control Alt Revolt, for a Hugo Award during the year where the Hugo Awards were probably the most controversial. Again, just like skyrocketing him to another level of fame as far as authors go. And we're very happy for his success there. Next, when things started to calm down off of that, Nick joined with author Jason Anspach, and Jason Anspach is another popular writer who has a big following, just like Nick Cole has. And they developed this Galaxy's Edge universe together because they're trying to build a like Star Wars, not Star Wars thing. And so they launched a website which hyped both their audiences, got their newsletters built, got some subscription stuff built, and it kind of steamrolled that when the book came out, it was a smash success beyond anything else. Hey, everybody, welcome. Some folk are starting to come here. Please say hi in the chat. Again, I'd love to hear from you and let other folk know about this stream, especially folk interested in writing and marketing, because this is going to be helpful for a lot of people. So at that point, we had two authors who had big followings already themselves and sort of names for themselves already, who combined together and combined their audiences together to reach a critical mass with this. And I think that's the biggest takeaway of how to make a success that's this big is, again, hey, TJ, welcome, Lucas. Welcome, David. Glad you guys are here. The biggest takeaway of the success right here is these guys already had established followings. They had already been in the business for a while. They had, hey, Yakov, welcome. They had already built their own audiences. And since they combined them together, what happened was, both of their audiences fully checked this out, and it built a huge group, which was, a smaller group before. And so that helped reach a critical mass to where it just skyrocketed in the rankings. And if you get high enough in the rankings on Amazon, you get seen by a lot of people, and Amazon kind of promotes your book for you to other people once it figures out the genre, because Amazon wants to sell books. So unfortunately, you can't replicate their success without being an established author already, and without having a partner who's an established author already, who kind of both of you already have semi-big followings. And this is kind of hard to do because when you pair up like this, and if you look, Chris Kennedy and Mark Wandry kind of did the same thing with their Four Horsemen universe. They both paired up together, and they both kind of had followings, and it kind of took off just because of that again. But if you are trying to get authors who have followings, you kind of have to be on the same level, because we both have everybody's got their artistic visions or whatnot, right? So you either have one dominant and one not so much, or you're on an equal footing and you kind of do things like this. Now, the way that they kind of did this is they developed a couple different series really together. There was one kind of following outlaws and all that, and then one kind of following space marines and all that. And you could tell which writer wrote which book. But instead of switching it up and actually collaborating too much on a book together, one edited the book that the other wrote, basically, so they kind of know the universe. But they each kind of had their own series that they were doing within this series. Was the way that they did it, and it allowed them to crank out books very fast to be able to do this. A very, very good business model. I've attempted to kind of replicate this myself with a couple different authors, and it just became too hard because we just had our own visions and had our own things we wanted to do. And it was tough. I am collaborating right now with Morgan Newquist on a fantasy series, which is going to be very good. And that's almost done with the first book. But we're not going to be able to get that sort of level of thing because Morgan, is as wonderful as a writer she is, does not have an audience that's my size. So can't replicate it on that level. Another confluence of events happened that you will not be able to replicate, in that they named their book Galaxy's Edge, had Star Wars-y imaging on it. So at the exact same time this was happening, Disney announced that they were going to make their theme park called Galaxy's Edge. And so for Star Wars. So the movie hype was big at that point. This is before everything really hit the fan of Star Wars fatigue for the whole Disney deal. And everybody was really excited about this Galaxy's Edge and Googling this Galaxy's Edge at the exact time that Jason and Nick were coming out with a book. That sort of fluke really propelled this to the next level. Also, you cannot understate how much that happy accident helped them in this. So those two things are really the big takeaways here, in that that they both had audiences already. And when they combined it, that made a critical mass that made this a lot bigger than it would have been if they were solo, because when you can't underestimate the value of audiences. Number two, the free marketing that came from Disney having a Galaxy's Edge park, and then people just Googling this and therefore plugging it into Amazon. You'd be shocked at what people plug into Amazon. They really do just plug in Google searches and all that, and then things come up. And that's how a lot of books get sold. There's people try to make their keywords look like stuff that people are searching for, and that's how nonfiction books sell a lot of the time, and that happened here also. So right then we've got basically you can't replicate this as a new author or a smaller author. It is what it is. So Nick already says, because they did at the time when this came, they did an after action report, and they had authors pay for it so that they could get the advice on that. I did pay for it at the time, and I did try to replicate their advice at the time. And while it worked to some degree on some things, it was not exactly the same thing, because I did not have those two events going for me, so I couldn't do anything. So again, and you get back to, how do you build a following? And the answer is, it's really hard, and you really just struggle and put out as many books as possible, and then hope one hits at some point. And that is really the best any author can tell you on how to reliably do this. You put out 20 books, you have better odds of one of them hitting and people noticing it than you do if you put out one or two books, right? It's just obvious. You're rolling the dice that many more times. In Nick's case, Nick got really big because, again, he had a controversy attached to him. And I know authors don't like to talk about this, especially people get really mad at me when I would sort of get this secret out there. Controversy sells, and I'm big because controversy sold. I got banned from conventions because of my Trump support, and that made me big. Nick, the same thing, got big because he, kind of got blacklisted from his publisher because he had anti-abortion, pro-life stances that are not acceptable within New York publishing. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I mean, whatever gets you the eyeballs on you is a good thing. And if you, how do I recommend doing that? It's what I'm doing. You start a YouTube channel, you start a Twitter, you be funny on Twitter, you post memes, If you get involved in politics, that's always good. People like politics gets way more engagement than non-politics. And I know that as Nick already got big, he kind of tried to back away from politics quite a bit to try to be like this apolitical author or whatnot. But I don't recommend doing that, honestly. Everything is so polarized now at this point. You're better to just put yourself out there because people kind of feel whether you're their tribe or not at this point, just by your existence. And so you might as well run with it. And the politics does get eyeballs on you. My most viewed tweet that gained me probably 600 followers this last month was one about election fraud. And, the conversion rate on that's going to be small, but at the end of the day, those 600 people, maybe 5 of them or 10 of them check out my book and, maybe they like it. Once you've got those eyeballs on you and they've checked out your book, you got to have a good product, of course. And if you have a good book, I've got good books, Nick has good books, then people will stay and follow you. And that's honestly my best advice for growing a following is something like that. You can also do it in niche markets. Like if you are really into Star Wars, you can start making content about Star Wars. You've seen a lot of people do that also and get really big based on that. I mean, obviously Ethan Van Sciver is not a good friend of the channel here, but we can't deny that his Star Wars videos were big successes, and he knows it too. I saw a post from him this morning saying that because somebody's making fun of him for making Star Wars videos, and he's like, "Look, this is how I grow my channel right before I launch. I make Star Wars content. People tune in. I gained 1,800 subscribers already by doing this." And he's right. And so at the end of the day, you want to figure out what gets eyeballs on you. That's not going to cause you to lose your soul, and roll with it. And that is the best marketing you can do to grow your platform before you even get to this point. So all of that is a big factor. Take that into consideration, especially you small authors and all that. I blog every day. I make a video about industry news and stuff like that every single day on here. And then I do reviews. And my review, here's the deal. And here's where it goes. I get big clicks on, whenever like Antifa burns down a bookstore or whatever. Again, that's political. And so I get a lot of clicks on that. I've got over 1,000 views on that video. But I also do some content that's positive content. Like I make reviews of comic books that I like, right? And those don't get a ton of views. I did Terry Moore's Ever graphic novel yesterday, and I'm a big Terry Moore fan, as a lot of people know. He's an independent artist, so not a lot of people are tuning in to check that review out. I'm going to be the only review out of that because nobody cares about independent comic books. So I'm going to get a niche of people who are going to check that out, and maybe it'll get 100 views over time. But what those do is they see that I provide that kind of content of the stuff that they're actually interested in. And so they come in as a positive viewer, and that gives me subscriptions over time. So people will come in and check out these subscriptions, etc. And again, yeah, Determined Sheeple says, I found you through Razor Fist, Eric David Stewart live streams with you. Yeah, there you go. And the more that you can plug into these networks like that, the better. And I always try to hang out with those guys as much as possible because, of course, they have great followings and they're great people. So yeah, lots of stuff. I mean, again, if you're an author, you've got a new book out or whatever, just hit me up and try to come stream with me. I would say that on that front, you don't want to. We were talking about this a little bit with Testify yesterday. You don't want to just make the stream like, let's talk about my book because that's going to bore people for an hour. We got to have a topic or something like that. If you're passionate about something going on with The Mandalorian or whatever, like that's something people want to talk about, and we can dissect that and plug your book in between things a little bit, and that's how you're going to get seen. It's not going to work with just one stream. For marketing, I'm an MBA from UC Berkeley, is what a lot of people don't understand and don't follow a lot of stuff. I have a background in this stuff far greater than any of these guys who happen to get successes and then try to teach it. I should probably make master classes about this and actually sell it, but whatever. Maybe this is a trial run for that. And if it's useful, you guys let me know. But it takes 7 points of contact in order to get that marketing sale. So you come on my stream and we talk some stuff, people like you, that's a good thing. Then you go on David's stream, same thing. And then a couple people remember you from my stream. It's like Determined Sheeple said, there's 3 different streams that I was seen on. And that made a follower over time. And I appreciate you being here. It's cool. All right. So that's kind of my background on how to grow an audience, because I really don't think any of this stuff works except for, like I said, I think Nick had an audience already. I think Jason had an audience already, and they got a couple confluences of events. And this stuff is all can be useful, but those are the primary factors in their success right here. And so building that audience is everything. So take a second. If you're here and you're new, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment, share it with your friends. This is how I grow, and this is the big deal. Holy crap, my stream got you 7 to 10 sales yesterday. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm excited for that. By the way, that's happening more and more often. So I found that like 2 years ago when I do streams like this, I would sell like 1 to 3 copies for people. And now it's blowing up a little bit more as people come on here. It's kind of nice. It always boggles my mind why more authors don't do this sort of thing. Whatever, their loss. So I think it's a huge deal. I think that's where the Comicsgate guys have things right. These YouTube channels and being friendly with audiences and actually interacting with people like this are the best way to grow the audience, hands down. They're the best way to get friends in here, hands down. And of course, if you're a friend, I'm going to, again, leave my link down in the description below so that you can go to my store and grab some books if you haven't yet. Whoops, I screwed up my link. Of course I did. I'm bad at shilling. I like the other stuff better. HB IGG.me ATJDA store. There we go. Cool. All of my books are in there. There is something for you if you like sci-fi. There's something if you like steampunk, if you like superheroes. I've got everything for you. So there you go. So let's go through Nick's points now and see what actually holds up as a new author or as an intermediate author and what is replicatable or not. He says stack at least 3 books to be ready to rapid release them over the course of 45 days. This will get you an audience and get them talking, sharing with others. This has been something people have talked about for the last couple of years. Hey, Levy, welcome to the stream. I'm glad you're here. Levy's my colorist for Flying Sparks. Awesome guy and awesome talent. But the rapid release strategy I found actually doesn't move the needle very much. It can. You can have a book, and then if you have your next book, and people like to see that there's a full trilogy out. So when they buy things these days, people really want more than one book. We are a binge watching society, a binge reading society. So if you're trying to put out one book and keep it out there, you're really not going to build something which lends itself towards this rapid release thing. But on the other hand, if you just put your books out there and it's, takes you 2 or 3 months to get book 2 out, takes you 2 or 3 months to get book 3 out, you can put your pre-orders up and let people know it's up there. But that is, again, isn't going to make a difference either way you do it. I've released my steampunk novels. Gosh, my first one I came out with in 2017. My second one I came out with in 2018. And my second one's the one that got to bestseller and became my first #1 bestseller. That's the one that really crushed it more than anything. And again, I mean, that was over a year of a difference in releases. I released my Justified series, conversely, as a rapid release like this. And I did get Justified to #1, but I already had that. But books 2 and book 3 really lagged behind. And I didn't see an increase in percentage of sales of books 2 and 3 as I did for my steampunks books 2 and 3 when I had not rapid released them. So this is something that doesn't always work. And David Room makes a very nice point in the chat. He says, simply putting your books on Amazon doesn't get you an audience. Again, this works better. The bigger audience you have, to start, they'll look at your book and find it and start buzzing about your book, and then book 2's out and they'll start buzzing about that book. So it does behoove you that when you already have an audience to ride that wave faster and come out with books more quickly, because you'll just be selling more to your already existing audience. But getting them out there faster without an existing audience is just going to be putting books out and not selling at a rapid rate. Also, it comes back to you have to grow your audience. Putting books out by itself is not going to be enough. So that's that. I do, of course, recommend that you do try to get a trilogy done. That it is a good idea to get the whole trilogy done first before you're releasing, just because you can make sure you stick to a schedule at that point, and that your audience can know that there are more books coming and they can be confident in that. But there's no benefit to, there's no like magical algorithm thing in the background of releasing books concurrently together or anything like that. All right, so that's point 1. Have a platform to capture the audience. This is a big, and this is kind of what we've been talking about. We built a subscription service that gave away our work in progress art, podcasts, keep the audience in the universe, and let them know that we value their attention. GE insiders were very small at first, big now. Yes. And this is the same thing. Like I'm interacting with you guys, building audience here with you guys. We're talking about books and book sales here. A lot of you guys are authors also. And so it's the same sort of thing. I'm building my audience brand a little bit more based on me versus they're building their audience brand built a little more based on that universe world or whatnot. Either way works really good. It is all about audience engagement there to build the platform, and you do have to have somewhere for everybody to land. And that's why I encourage YouTube subscriptions and my newsletter subscriptions also, because the newsletter subscriptions at the end of the day is where I'm going to hard sell you a little bit more. So that's how it works. All right. Do everything as though your life depends on it. Pull out all the stops for your book. Spend good money, $1,200 to $1,800 to hire a pro artist and get a great cover. Cover is 90% of the buy decision. So if we're fact checking this, if we're pretending we're Snopes.com, fact check on number one is not really true. Fact check number two, true. This is a good thing. Fact check number three is somewhere in the middle and it's iffy. And we'll get to this here. So cover is 90% of the buy decision. He is 100% right. You want to have the prettiest cover at your disposal. Do you need to spend $1,200 to $1,800 for that? Well, let's take a look. And let's go right here. Right here is the Stars Entwined. And I, on here, got a award-winning, very expensive cover designer who I really like as a person. And I don't want to make this a trash on him or anything like that. I spent an enormous amount of money on this cover. And what happened was this book actually flopped when it first came out. It's doing okay now because of long-term sales, because of what I've done with advertising. But when it initially came out, oh, by the way, it's on sale 99 cents if anybody just wants to check it out. Whoops. Getting a lot of phone calls, sorry. But this is I followed this method exactly and spent good money on a cover, and it didn't do anything. It didn't move the needle at all. I thought because my steampunk books were such a huge success that this going into space opera, military science fiction sort of genre, which is a bigger genre with a lot more readers, would do a lot better, especially with a much more expensive cover, which is really cool art. You got this looming spaceship that, like, you know, it looks like there's like something hostile going on from an alien spaceship. You'd think that would be very cool. Didn't do much. It didn't really help all that much. And again, I spent that kind of money like that he's talking on it. You do want your cover to look beautiful though. So launch. So you go to Colony Launch, and I've got a very similar cover here. It communicates the same space opera things. Got the planet in the background, the ship in the front, and all that. This book on launch sold just as well as The Stars Entwined, and I paid $150 for this cover. So as much as you can spend a ton on the cover and it may not work, you cannot spend money on a cover and it can work also. You just have to go with your aesthetic eye, and you have to make sure your aesthetic eye is correct and genre appropriate. There's run this by your friends. If you look at your cover and ask for honest feedback, because I know a lot of authors, they do get butthurt about feedback and things like that. But you have to have people you trust be able to tell you, dude, that doesn't look professional. And if it doesn't look professional, you're not going to sell. Bottom line, there's so many books out there that don't look professional at this point and don't look appropriate for the genre, or just don't have a good like thumbnail deal. Look at this. See, so right here, there's a tiny thumbnail. This is all that people are going to see on Amazon to click on things a lot of the time. It's got like a planet breaking up, and it's called When the Earth Had a Moon. And you can tell it's a science fiction at this point. Like, I can already tell the genre in that tiny little thumbnail. And you need to be able to tell the genre very well in that tiny little thumbnail, or you're never going to get the sales. It doesn't matter how pretty the picture or intricate it is. It's all about that tiny little thumbnail. See the stars asunder here, same sort of deal. You know exactly what you're getting right here. All right. And so cover doesn't really have to do with spending money and getting this like high-end artist or anything like that. It just has to do with genre conventions. Again, Justified had a great cover. And again, I spent a ton of money on this. This is a well-renowned artist again, and it did sell. And it is largely a part of this. However, Colony Launch is more profitable as a book because I spent 10x less money on the cover. And even though it's not selling as well as Justified, that 10x is a lot more money in my pocket rather than a lot more money that I had to pay and shell out to the artist. So that's the case here. Somewhat true. Cover is 90% of the buy decision, but you don't need to break an arm and a leg in order to compete. That's a silly concept. Hire a good, reputable editor. Hire a line editor. Get beta readers. Don't bother big-time writers. They won't edit your book. They're too busy. And you won't take their advice when they tell you how to fix it. This is kind of true. I have a good editor. What an editor is mostly good for is again, you don't really need them to necessarily fix your ideas so much. As an amateur writer, you might, because it takes you a few books to know how to write. It probably takes you 3, 4, maybe 5 books in to figure out how to write well enough and construct things well enough to be able to do things professionally. It's a muscle like anything else. If you do your reps, you're going to get better. If you don't do your reps and you don't do them right, you're not going to get better. So I definitely do recommend hiring a good editor. I don't cheap out on editing at all. What my editor does for me is make sure I'm very bad with continuity and things like that because I just have a bad long-term memory. So my editor goes, "Hey, didn't in book 1 like this happen?" And I go, "Oh crap, it did. I got to write this out." And then fixes things like if I have words that repeat. People don't like reading words that repeat. So if Nick Cole said like hire a good editor, hire a line editor, the editor would go through and go hire a good reputable editor and a line editor, instead of having the word hire twice, because that just makes a pause in your brain that doesn't feel good at the end of the day. And that sort of stuff is what they go through and do. And of course, fix typos and all that. He says, get beta readers. I do not use beta readers. I'm at the point, I think, that I don't know. A lot of beta readers will just tell you how they would like a plot to go. And I get this with reviewers sometimes. Like somebody was reviewing Flying Sparks about a year ago, and they're like, "Oh gosh, this really needs more mob stuff. You need to have more mafia, blah, 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 blah. If it had a big mafia battle, it would have been way cooler." It's like, I didn't write a mafia book. I wrote a book about a superhero girl who's dating a supervillain and her struggling with that. And that's my story I wrote. And so that feedback was not helpful for me whatsoever. And I wanted to write that story. I didn't want to write a mafia story, right? And so that's what beta readers do a lot of the time. I mean, you got to find professionals really who know what they're doing on that front, or you got to get people who are big fans of yours to tell you what they want. I always listen to my fans when I get emails after a book comes out or whatever, and somebody's like, what happened early on was for Steam and Country. Somebody's like, "I really liked your James character in there, and I would really like him to be developed more." And so I'm like, you know what? Cool, I'll do that. And I wrote his own book from his perspective so that you can get a little bit more of that. So that's kind of something that's useful compared to something that's not. And that's how you do things. Learn from it, hire a formatter. You got to have your formatting dialed in at this point. If it doesn't look good, it's going to be bad. There's software that does it like very easily at this point, but it costs some good money. I own that software and I could probably do it for you. I don't know. We can talk about that. Let's see. Don't spend money on ads. The game is rigged. Instead, target specific genre audiences. Yes, you need to find them yourself and sell your exact books. This is not good advice. If your book is about Space Marine vampires, you have to find readers who love Space Marine vampires. Yes, and you can do that through ads. Don't try to get lucky and lurk in Space Boy Wizards. Also true. Hoping to peel off readers because you're so great. Very true. Readers don't jump genres. Also true. You won't go viral boosting off of another genre. Find yours if they are out there. That's how you go viral. Yeah, but again, it comes back to how do you go viral, right? And you go viral partially by running ads. You have to have very specific ad strategies, and you have to use the ads responsibly. If you put up a Facebook ad and run it at $100 a day and run it towards science fiction readers, you're just going to blow $100 a day and you're not going to get any readers. That is very true. If you run Amazon ads and you use their suggested bids where they ask you to like bid $1, if I wanted to bid on Galaxy's Edge or something, and it told me to bid a $1. Space Marine Vampires is very much a thing for the chat there. you're not going to make money, because if you are selling your book for $3.99 or $4.99, one click is going to be $1. And so, if you have a good ad and everything's working well, you get 10 to 1 for sales. And so you'll spend $10, you'll make 4, Amazon will take, 30% of that. So you're going to really make $2 for the 10 you spent. That's not going to work. So make sure you use your ads responsibly. I'm not going to run over how to do ads right here. There's a lot of ad classes out there. I recommend Brian Cohen's Amazon Ad School, because he really lays things out. He does a free course every quarter or so with an advertising challenge, and that's probably the best way to get involved there. So just look for that. All right. As far as genre, he's 100% correct. Genre is everything. People do just stick in their little genres. It's very weird. Be kind to other writers. There are too many horrible people in this business who think going to war with other writers is a strategy for success. Be kind. It goes a long way. Very ironic here. I won't get into Nick and how he was pretty rude to me, but whatever. Reader feedback is critical. Yes, reader feedback is absolutely critical. If a reader says they want more of something, or if they like something and they're a person who buys your books, you want to give them more of that for sure. And you want to make sure that, within reasonability for the character. Like I said, if it's something like somebody's asking me to write a mob book and I wrote a romance superhero book, obviously he's just not reading my genre, and it's not something that's gonna be helpful. But if somebody says, hey, I really like Chloe's gadgets, and she hasn't really gotten new gadgets in a lot of issues. She gets a new gadgets in volume 4, by the way. I'll add new gadgets in, because that just adds to the plot and adds to the fun for everybody, right? And somebody liked that about the character. So you want to amplify the things people like about the character so that they stay connected to them. Makes sense. Once you're Space Marine Vampire and selling books, listen to them and give them what they want. Exactly what they want. Don't jump genres. They won't follow. Space Marine Vampire is their jam. Serve them. True. And this is where I actually struggle. I always tell authors, and this is where I screw up big time, and I almost screw up intentionally, whereas Nick has this very dialed. You do want to keep within the exact genre. You want to keep doing the exact same thing. You want to give them exactly what they want. The authors who do the best are the ones who come out with 10, 20 books, all in the same genre. All of Galaxy's Edge, there's a zillion books. They just stick with it. It feels like the same Galaxy's Edge in book 1 as it does in book 10. And that is why readers like it. We do this with Star Wars all the time. Like Disney had Star Wars, and they produced something when it came out that didn't feel like Star Wars. It felt like a parody of Star Wars, and so it didn't feel right. It was not the right genre. It didn't serve fans, and of course, everybody hated it. When The Mandalorian came out, it felt like Star Wars. It's a smaller version of Star Wars because it's a TV show, not a big feature film. But the feel is there. Everything about Star Wars that you love was there. You're like, that armor's awesome. Oh, that bounty hunt's awesome. Baby Yoda is even cuter than freaking Ewoks. This is Star Wars, and that's exactly what Nick's talking about here. That's why your platform to engage with your insiders is so crucial. That's why treating your fellow authors and genre allies is so crucial. That's why putting your best foot forward is so crucial. All these things are very true, and I really see a lot of this that's really sad in terms of people, just being rude over politics and things like that. There's a lot of infighting in clubs and all that. In books, it's worse in comics, but it's in books too. And it's not very fun. But I always stick with my true allies 100%. That's why you always see me hanging with Vox Day and all that, even though it upsets people. He's always been there for me since day one, and I'm just going to hang with him. And because he's always been my friend, I'm going to stay there, right? John C. Wright's the same. Yakov's the same. Six Scale Combat in the chat's the same. Everybody who is there and is an ally and is on this good path, I definitely want to retain friendships with and be there. David Stewart's another great one. Brian Niemeyer, of course. Great people. All right, do these things. In 3 to 5 years, you'll make a living writing books. Yeah, I'm on year 4. And I'm definitely making a sustainable living doing this if I did not live in the San Francisco Bay Area of California. Housing prices are out of control here. It's a different ballgame than other places. But if I moved anywhere else, I could support my family based on my books, and it would be great. All right. Okay. Now that I'm giving you free advice, he then makes his pitch for his books. All right. So as you can see, some of the stuff's good, some of it's not. And what he, again, doesn't directly address is the most important part of this. You need your following. Nick can say all this stuff from having a following, and everything Nick does is going to work to some degree because he already has a following. You got to build your following. And the way you do that is on you. To get noticed because your book is just so brilliant or whatever is, even if you do have the most brilliant science fiction book out there, which you probably don't, I'm not going to lie to you. It's not feasible. It's not something that happens all the time. And it's not something that's going to get you anywhere. I know the person I know that did write the most brilliant science fiction book I've read in the last 10 years, probably sold 30 to 50 copies of his book. He got zero attention. And it's because he didn't have marketing. He didn't have a platform, and he couldn't build a platform. He's a disabled guy, so he just had no way he could do it. And that's a testament to everything. I've seen people with books that are super mediocre, and even worse than mediocre, make tons and tons of money. So, and it's because they built a great platform where people were attached to them and not the books. So yes, it's all about how you build your platform, and you got to think about doing that. Yes, put out lots of books. The more books you write, the better you'll be at writing books, first off. The more books you write, the more that people have something to look for to latch onto you, which is also good. And then, of course, you got to build your platform in other ways too. And I think YouTube's a great way to do that. If you can swing it. Like anything else, if you don't work at it, it's not going to build. It's daily content. My channel here is still on the small side, and it's because I've only really been focused on putting out daily videos and all that for, less than a year still. And so it's getting to 2,000 subscribers, and that is a low watermark of kind of a successful channel. And that's a good way to work. Twitter's a good way to work. Building a mailing list, with interesting stuff is a good way to work. I see people put out, you just can't sell people all the time on these platforms. If you sit here and sell all day, it's not fun for anybody. You're not giving anybody any value. You have to give people value and then make the sale. And then hopefully people will support you at that juncture. And I think that's it. So Nick, I mean, he's mostly good on the advice here, but a lot of stuff will get people kind of frustrated as they attempt to do some of these things and then the results don't come in. It is the group 20 books to 50K really is a solid thing. You should totally operate on trying to get 20 books out as fast as possible, because then you have a whole breadth of a catalog to do, and you'll probably be a pro at writing after you write about 20 books for sure. So that's a good thing on that front. Okay, I think that's everything. Do you guys have any questions? I would love to answer questions for you. And again, I would love for you to go visit my Indiegogo store and just get some signed books. Every book's here. I'm going to go over genres again just because we've got my steampunk books. Even folk who don't like steampunk, this is the funniest part to me. People who always, like when this came out, like, I don't like steampunk, but I loved your book and I will love your books and read your books. And I thought that'd translate to space opera a little better, because everybody wanted space opera, military science fiction, but they kept reading my steampunk books is what it came down to. So these are my most popular books. This is probably my favorite series, The Stars Entwined. I think there's great character work in here. If you are interested in like a Babylon 5 unfolding drama, this is going to be for you. Justified, this is again a super popular one with my crowd. I took Star Wars and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it better and do it Christian. And you'll see how I was able to do that without being lame. A lot of Christian fiction is pretty lame these days, and I'm taking it back because Christian art used to be the pinnacle of culture, and that's what we need to do again now. Make Science Fiction Fun Again is a bunch of fun short stories. It's out of print, so if you want something exclusive, this is a good spot to go. Same with Star Realms Rescue Run. This is based on a card game. It's one of my early works, so you can kind of see how things went on that level in military science fiction. Flying Sparks is my superhero story, which is a lot of fun. This is, again, like my flagship for comics. People love this. It's sold thousands of copies. It's done really well on Amazon and on crowdfunds. The Cosmic Warrior is my pulp classic. Again, just like bringing Christian themes into things in a good way. And I put a strong male lead. You guys love strong male leads. And you can get all these right in here. I've got even more books. Clockwork Dancer is my steampunk comic. Issue 2 is being developed right now. Dynamite Thor is a classic Golden Age comic, and I've got even more. Holy crap, so much stuff. It's hard to focus, but something in there is going to be something, a genre that you like. And you can get them very easily. Just single issues. If you know which are the single issues, I've got the list drop down here. The full graphic novels digitally are here. We've got physical ones, so I can ship them to you. Novels, sci-fi novels, complete Operation Wars, and more. And that's where we can go. So yeah, I hope that was useful for you guys. It looks like there's not questions. Advertise your signed books. I'm trying to advertise my signed books. Anything physical, I'll sign for you. So obviously, I can't sign the digital ones very well, but you can get my signed books. Somebody got the Complete Flying Sparks already through here, which I appreciate. And you can get my full collection. I've got a lot of books. I've got 9 comics, 5 graphic novels, and 13 novels to sell to you guys. So it'll give you complete reading material for the entire winter if you guys want to go there. So cool. I'm glad it was helpful. It seems like everybody in the chat enjoyed this, and I appreciate you guys being here and listening. And we'll be back soon. I'm trying to stream more often. I got sick the last couple of weeks, and it just slowed things down in a non-fun way for me. But we're getting back on track. We delayed our next Kickstarter because we figured it wouldn't be a good idea to release in this like election season where everybody's kind of stressed, plus the whole Christmas season. So the next Kickstarter comic is going to be freaking awesome. And it's going to come like end of January, early February, probably. And got a couple novels in the pipeline. I've got one I'm editing that I have to kickstart also. So I got to figure out where to fit that in there. And that's going to be a dual thing with Moira Graylin, if you like her. And I've got a fantasy novel I've completed with Morgan Newquist. We might write the full trilogy before I release that, so it might be a while on that. Fiona, welcome. Glad you're here. And that's it on those fronts, I think. The Stars Entwined book 3, I'm about 40% done writing. So I'm going to get back to that once I finish this book with Morgan also. So hopefully that's probably going to be the first book you see out of all of these. And that's going to be ETA February or March probably too. So I just didn't feel like releasing anything right now. I think it's a terrible idea to release anything right now. So if you guys are like, looking to release something and itching to do it, I just think, people are too stressed over election stuff and too stressed over Christmas and COVID. It just seems like a bad time to put something new out there. And I already went through this with my first book. I came out with it during the election. Timing is a good point for releases that needed to be talked about during this too. We'll add this to the list. Timing is everything. I released my first book during right the week after the election in 2016, and it just shut everybody down. Everybody was just so glued to their TVs about the election drama stuff that they weren't checking out science fiction books. And I saw a big dip the last couple of weeks in Kindle Unlimited reads also. I run ads, and usually I get anywhere from 1,000 to 2,500 Kindle Unlimited pages read every day, and it dropped to about 1/10 of that. So people do not check out stuff during elections. People do not check out stuff during crises. It's like, you don't want to release your book right after 9/11 either, right? All this stuff does play a factor. So you got to pay attention to the timing of your releases. What months are good? If not everything's bad. I just say December's pretty much always bad. January's pretty much always bad. Beyond that, you can't go wrong too much. People love looking for reads during the summer for some reason. And if you can get stuff in October, early November, that's not an election season, you can get people for their holiday reads at that point as they're loading up their Kindles for that. And I think that's the last piece of advice I've got for the moment. Whew. All right. How long did we go? We went for almost an hour. That's pretty good. I'll get back to writing now. And you guys, I hope you enjoyed this. And please read my books. It's the whole reason we're here. I promise that I will give you good fun, if anything. And happy Thanksgiving, as Fiona Wolf also said. Have a good day, my friends.